So one thing that I want to do is I want to talk to you about the geography of the Civil War, before we actually get into the conflict and the battle. So I want to go over with you like what it means to be a free state, what it means to be a slave state, what that looks like in the country and what's going on. Okay. So here we've got basically a map of the United States. All right. So in the green where my little cursor is, we've got, and if I can, I can kind of highlight that right here in the middle is Illinois. Okay. So all of the blue states that we see are free states. Okay. This means that they don't allow slavery. So we started in I mean, pretty much all of them are up in the north. So Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota, Oregon, and California are on the sides. But because they're so far away from the main portion of the population, we see them over there, but they're not really part. I mean, they're part of what they're part of the union and everything. Um, so we kind of, we're seeing that. Then here are all in the gray, here are all the slave states. So we have Delaware, Maryland, Virginia. Eventually this will break off, and then we also will have West Virginia, Kentucky, Missouri, Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Texas. So you can already start seeing like the split in the United States and what's happening in just this natural border that's along the Ohio River. Um, that goes like right here. This is like this weird border that goes north of this west area, like the southern part of Ohio and Kentucky, like along this area that then feeds into and goes down, basically feeds into the Mississippi River, which runs right along here between Illinois and Missouri and Arkansas, Louisiana, and going down. Okay, so geography plays a huge role. What ends up happening, and if you see this, we have the border states, which end up being Delaware, Maryland, Kentucky, Missouri, and then eventually, like Virginia, would be considered a border state. And then you have West Virginia that splits off in 1863. All right. So what ends up happening, and what we see, here's all our slave states, and here's like the breakdown. Okay. And then the border states are Delaware, Maryland, Kentucky, Missouri. Okay. But what ends up happening and what we start seeing, okay, Kansas comes into play and comes in as a free state. What you start seeing is that after the election of Abraham Lincoln in 1860, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas, those states break away right off the bat, right? Those 7 states, by the end of 1860 in December, they secede and they say, we're not going to be part of the United States anymore. Like, we are going to be the Confederate States of America. Then once, then going into 1861, you then have Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee, and Arkansas. Those states end up actually breaking with the United States, and they join the Confederacy as well. After the firing at Fort Sumter in April 1861, they join in. Then what you have are, and if we remember from our other map, Missouri, Kentucky, the section of Virginia, which is what now West Virginia, Maryland, and Delaware, they're all slave states that they decide that they're going to stay with the Union. Okay. So they're border states. So how do we deal with this idea of, we have slave states within the Union? Okay. What's the idea? What's the compromise that Lincoln has with these states? What does that mean in terms of geography? Why do you think it was so important for Lincoln to ensure, and for the Union to ensure, that they kept Missouri, Kentucky, West Virginia, Maryland, and Delaware? Okay. We'll talk about that a little bit more. But at least looking at this map, I really wanted you guys to see, what was happening